Hey there, and welcome to True Scary Stories. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment telling us where you're from and what time you're watching. That helps YouTube know you love creepy stories, and it'll keep sending more your way.
4 very scary road trip horror stories. Hey everyone, before we get started, I just want to say, be careful out there on the roads. You never really know what you might encounter when you're miles away from home, in the middle of nowhere. These 4 stories were sent to me by people who experienced things during road trips that they'll never forget. Things that still keep them up at night. So turn off the lights, get comfortable, and let's begin. Story 1. The Rest Stop. This happened to me about 3 years ago, during spring break of my junior year in college. Me and my roommate Tyler decided to drive from Ohio down to Florida. We figured we'd split the driving, blast music, and make it a fun trip. What we didn't expect was what happened at that rest stop in Georgia. We'd been driving for about 9 hours straight. It was around 2 in the morning, and honestly, we were both exhausted. Tyler had been driving the last shift, and his eyes were getting heavy. I told him we should pull over and sleep for a few hours. He agreed. We saw a sign for a rest stop coming up in 5 miles. Perfect timing. The highway was completely empty at that hour. No cars behind us, no cars ahead. Just darkness and those dim highway lights every few hundred feet. When we pulled into the rest stop, the first thing I noticed was how dead it was. There were maybe 2 other cars in the entire parking lot, both of them parked far away from the main building. The overhead lights were flickering, giving everything this strobing effect that made my skin crawl. "This place is creepy as hell," Tyler said, echoing my thoughts. "Yeah, but we need to sleep. Let's just park, lock the doors, and crash for a few hours." We parked near the building, figuring it'd be safer to be close to the bathrooms in case we needed them. Tyler reclined his seat back, and within minutes he was snoring. I tried to sleep, but something felt off. You know that feeling when you can tell someone's watching you? That's what it felt like. I kept my eyes closed, trying to force myself to sleep, when I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate footsteps on the pavement outside the car. They stopped right next to my window. My heart started pounding. I didn't move, didn't even breathe. The footsteps started again, circling the car, all the way around. Then they stopped at Tyler's window. I cracked my eyes open just slightly. In the flickering light, I could see a figure standing there, tall, wearing what looked like a dark hooded jacket, but I couldn't see a face. The hood was too deep, just shadow where a face should be. The figure just stood there, not moving, not knocking, just standing. I reached over and shook Tyler awake as quietly as I could. His eyes snapped open, and I put my finger to my lips. I pointed toward his window. Tyler slowly turned his head and saw the figure. His face went pale. We sat there in complete silence, both of us frozen. The figure raised one hand and placed it flat against Tyler's window. The fingers were long, too long, and they were completely pale, almost white. Then it knocked. 3 slow knocks. "What do we do?" Tyler whispered. "Don't answer. Don't move." The figure stood there for what felt like an eternity. Then it slowly walked away toward the bathroom building. The flickering lights made its movements look jerky and unnatural, like a video skipping frames. "Start the car," I whispered urgently. "Start it now." Tyler fumbled with the keys, his hands shaking. The engine roared to life, and immediately the figure turned around. Even from that distance, I swear I could feel it staring at us. Tyler threw the car in reverse and floored it. We peeled out of that rest stop doing at least 60. Neither of us said a word for the next hour. We just drove. When the sun started coming up, we finally pulled over at a gas station. Tyler looked at me and said, "Did you see its hand?" I nodded. The fingers were too long. "No," Tyler said, his voice shaking. "They weren't fingers. They were claws." We checked the window where the figure had touched it. There were scratches in the glass, deep scratches, like something with claws had dragged them down the window. We drove straight through to Florida after that, didn't stop again until we were at the hotel, and we took a different route home. To this day, I don't know what that thing was, but sometimes, late at night, I'll hear it. 3 slow knocks, and I know it's just my imagination, but I can't shake the feeling that someday I'm going to open a door and it will be standing there.
Story 2: The Passenger. This story comes from a guy named Derek. He was driving cross-country from California to New York, doing the whole solo road trip thing to find himself after a bad breakup. What he found instead was something he wishes he could forget. It was his 4th day on the road. He'd been driving through Nevada, and the landscape was just nothing. Desert and more desert. The highway stretched out forever, straight as an arrow. He hadn't seen another car in over an hour. The sun was setting, painting the sky these deep oranges and purples. It would have been beautiful if Derek wasn't so incredibly bored and tired. He'd been driving for 10 hours with only a couple short breaks. That's when he saw her. A woman standing on the side of the road. She was waving her arms frantically. Derek's first thought that she needed help. Maybe her car broke down. But as he got closer, he realized there was no car. No broken down vehicle. Nothing. Just her, alone, in the middle of nowhere. He slowed down. Every instinct told him to keep driving, but he couldn't just leave someone stranded in the desert. He pulled over about 20 feet ahead of her and got out. "You okay?" he called out. She walked toward him quickly. She was probably in her 30s, wearing jeans and a faded red tank top. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she looked normal. Tired, maybe, a little dirty, but normal. "Oh, thank God," she said, her voice strained. "My car broke down about 5 miles back. I've been walking for over an hour. Can you give me a ride to the next town?" Derek hesitated. "Where's your car?" She pointed back down the highway. "Back there. Piece of junk finally gave out. I just need to get to a phone." Something about the situation felt wrong, but Derek couldn't figure out what. She seemed genuine, desperate even. "Yeah, okay, get in." She smiled and climbed into the passenger seat. Derek got back behind the wheel and pulled onto the highway. The sun had almost completely set now, and the desert was getting dark fast. "Thank you so much," she said. "You're a lifesaver. I'm Amy." Derek. They drove in silence for a few minutes. Derek kept glancing over at her. She was staring straight ahead, not moving, not even blinking. "So, what were you doing out here?" Derek asked, trying to make conversation. "Driving," she said simply. "By yourself?" "Yes." Another uncomfortable silence. Derek turned on the radio just to fill the quiet. Nothing but static. He tried another station, more static. Every single station was just white noise. "The radio doesn't work out here," Amy said. "Yeah, I guess not." He glanced over at her again, and that's when he noticed something that made his blood run cold. Her seatbelt. She wasn't wearing it, but that wasn't what scared him. The seatbelt was fastened, buckled, but she wasn't in it. The belt was pulled across the seat like it was holding something invisible. "Hey, you should probably put your—" "It's on," she said, still staring straight ahead.
Derek's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Right, okay. The temperature in the car started dropping. He could see his breath in the middle of the Nevada desert. It's cold, Derek said, his voice shaking slightly. Is it? Amy asked. She slowly turned her head to look at him. That's when he saw her eyes. They were completely black. No whites, no pupils, just solid, endless black. Derek slammed on the brakes. The car screeched to a halt in the middle of the highway. Get out. Get out of my car right now. Amy smiled. We're not there yet. I don't care. Get out. She unbuckled the seatbelt, the one she supposedly was already wearing, and opened the door. She stepped out onto the road and stood there, just looking at him through the window. You shouldn't have stopped. Then she walked away, into the darkness of the desert. Derek watched her in his rearview mirror until she disappeared completely. Then he drove. He drove as fast as he could, not stopping until he reached the next town 40 minutes later. When he got to a gas station, he jumped out and checked his car. The passenger seat was soaked, completely drenched, and it was ice cold. But here's the thing that Derek still can't explain. When he checked his phone, when he looked at the time, he'd lost 2 hours. He left that woman on the highway at 7:15 p.m. He arrived at the gas station at 9:45 p.m. But the drive should have only taken 40 minutes. Where did those 2 hours go? Derek doesn't know, and he doesn't want to know. He finished his trip to New York, but he took a different route. He couldn't bring himself to drive through Nevada again. Sometimes, late at night, he'll be driving and he'll see a woman on the side of the road, and his heart stops. But he never stops. Not anymore.
Story 3. The Following Lights. This one was sent to me by a woman named Jennifer. She and her boyfriend Kyle were driving through Montana, heading to Glacier National Park for a camping trip. They'd been dating for about a year, and this was supposed to be their big romantic getaway. They'd been on the road since early morning, and by nightfall, they were driving through some of the most isolated areas Jennifer had ever seen. No houses, no gas stations, just endless forest on both sides of the road and a sky full of stars. It's beautiful out here, Jennifer remembered saying. Kyle agreed. Yeah, but it's also kind of creepy. If we broke down out here, we'd be screwed. They both laughed, not knowing how true that statement would become. Around 10 p.m., Jennifer noticed something in the rearview mirror. Headlights. Far back, but definitely there. She didn't think much of it at first, just another car on the highway. But after about 20 minutes, the lights were still there, same distance, never getting closer, never falling back. That car's been behind us for a while, Jennifer mentioned. Kyle glanced in his mirror. Huh, yeah, it has. They kept driving. The road was starting to climb now, winding through the mountains. The turns were getting sharper, and Kyle had to slow down. The lights behind them slowed down too, maintaining that exact same distance. That's weird, Jennifer said. Maybe they're just going the same way we are. For 30 minutes? On a road this empty? Kyle frowned. You want me to pull over, let them pass? Yeah, that'd make me feel better. Kyle pulled off to the side of the road and put the car in park. They watched the mirror. The headlights behind them got closer, closer, and then stopped, about 100 feet back, just sitting there. Why aren't they passing? Jennifer's voice was tight now. I don't know. They sat there for a solid minute. The other car didn't move, didn't pass them, just sat there with its lights on. Screw this, Kyle said. He put the car back in drive and pulled onto the road. The headlights behind them started moving again. Same distance, same speed. Jennifer's heart was pounding now. Kyle, I don't like this. Me neither. I'm going to speed up, see what they do.
Kyle accelerated, pushing the car up to 70, then 80. The mountain road was dangerous at this speed, but the fear was overriding their caution. The headlights behind them accelerated too, same distance. "They're following us," Jennifer said, her voice barely a whisper. Kyle didn't respond. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. He kept accelerating. 85, 90. Then suddenly, the lights behind them sped up, fast. They were getting closer. "Kyle! I see it!" The lights were right behind them now, close enough that Jennifer could see it was a truck, a big, dark truck with a massive grill. It was inches from their bumper. Then it hit them. Not hard enough to cause damage, but hard enough to jolt the car forward. Jennifer screamed. "What the hell?" Kyle shouted. The truck backed off slightly, then hit them again, harder this time. Kyle floored it, the engine roaring. They were doing almost 100 now, flying around curves that should have been taken at 40. One wrong move and they'd go over the edge, down into the valley below. The truck stayed right with them, matching their speed perfectly. Jennifer was crying now. "What do they want? What do they want from us?" "I don't know." They rounded a sharp curve, and suddenly there was a straight section of road ahead. Kyle saw his chance. There was a small dirt road coming up on the right, barely visible. He made a split-second decision. "Hold on." He slammed on the brakes and yanked the wheel to the right. The car skidded onto the dirt road, sliding sideways before Kyle regained control. He killed the headlights immediately. The truck went flying past them on the main highway. They watched as its taillights disappeared around the next curve. Kyle and Jennifer sat there in the darkness, both of them breathing hard. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. Finally, Kyle whispered, "Did they see us turn?" "I don't know." They waited. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. The truck didn't come back. Kyle started the car again, and slowly, with the headlights still off, he drove further down the dirt road. They didn't turn the lights back on until they'd gone at least 2 miles. The dirt road eventually connected to another highway. They strove straight through to the nearest town, a tiny place called Dutton. They got a hotel room and didn't leave until the next morning. They never made it to Glacier National Park. They turned around and drove home the next day, taking a completely different route. Jennifer told me that to this day, if she sees a dark truck behind her on the highway, she has a panic attack. She has to pull over and let it pass. And Kyle? He doesn't drive at night. Not on empty roads, not through the mountains. Because they both know that somewhere out there, on that dark highway in Montana, that truck is still driving, still looking, still hunting.
Story 4. The Detour. The last story comes from a guy named Owen. This happened last summer, and Owen told me he still hasn't fully processed what he experienced. Owen was driving from Colorado to Utah, taking the scenic route through some back roads. He'd done the drive before and loved the views. Red rock formations, vast open spaces, the kind of landscape that makes you feel small in the best way. He left early in the morning, and the drive was going perfectly, until he hit the detour. There was a sign on the highway, road closed 5 miles ahead, detour. An arrow pointed to an exit coming up on the right. Owen didn't think anything of it. Construction happens. He took the exit. The detour route took him off the main highway and onto a much smaller 2-lane road. The road wound through some hills, and the scenery was actually even more beautiful than the highway. Owen turned on some music and relaxed. After about 30 minutes, he should have reconnected with the highway, but he didn't. The road just kept going, deeper into the hills. That's when Owen started to feel uneasy. He checked his GPS. No signal. The little blue dot showing his location was frozen on the screen. "Great," he muttered. He kept driving, figuring the road had to lead somewhere eventually. But as more time passed, the landscape started to change. The red rocks and desert plants gave way to something else. Dead trees. Gray, twisted trees with no leaves. The ground was cracked and dry. It looked like nothing Owen had ever seen in Utah before. He tried his phone.
No signal, not even one bar. The road ahead was completely straight now, stretching out to the horizon, and there was something on it. A figure, standing in the middle of the road. Owen slowed down. As he got closer, he could see it was a person. A man wearing old, dusty clothes. He was just standing there, not moving. Owen honked the horn. Nothing. This is weird, Owen said to himself. He put the car in park and got out. Big mistake. The moment Owen's feet hit the pavement, the man's head snapped toward him. The movement was too fast, inhuman. Hey, Owen called out, his voice cracking. Do you need help? The man started walking toward him. His gait was wrong, too stiff, like his joints didn't bend properly. Owen's instincts screamed at him. He jumped back in the car and locked the doors. The man kept coming, getting closer. When he was about 10 feet away, Owen could finally see his face. It was wrong, all wrong. The features were human, but they didn't fit together right. The eyes were too far apart, the mouth was too wide, and the skin, it looked like a mask, like something wearing human skin that didn't quite know how it was supposed to fit. The man, the thing, placed both hands on the hood of Owen's car. The metal creaked under its grip. Owen threw the car in reverse and hit the gas. The tires screamed. He looked back to see where he was going, and that's when he saw them. More figures, at least a dozen of them standing on the road behind him. They'd appeared out of nowhere. Owen spun the wheel, turning the car around. He shifted into drive and floored it, driving straight at the figures. At the last second, they moved aside, faster than should be possible. Owen's car flew past them. He was doing 90, 100, faster than he'd ever driven in his life. In the rearview mirror, he could see the figures standing in the road, watching him go. The landscape was a blur. Dead trees, cracked earth, gray sky. The road seemed to go on forever. Then, suddenly, he saw it. A sign. Detour ends, highway 500 feet. Owen nearly sobbed with relief. The dead trees gave way to normal vegetation. The sky brightened, and there it was, the highway, beautiful and normal and full of other cars. He merged onto the highway and didn't stop driving for 2 hours. When he finally pulled over at a rest stop, his hands were shaking so badly he could barely hold his phone. He checked the time. It was 3 in the afternoon. He'd left Colorado at 7 in the morning. The drive should have taken 5 hours, but 8 hours had passed. Owen called the highway department later, asking about the detour. They had no record of any road closures on that route. No detour signs had been authorized. He tried to find the road again on a map, but he couldn't. The exit he took, the road he drove on, they weren't on any map. It was like they didn't exist. Owen told me he thinks about it every day. That road, those figures, that place. He doesn't know what it was. Another dimension? A glitch in reality? Something worse? All he knows is that somewhere out there, that road still exists, and those things are still standing on it, waiting for the next person to take the detour. So there you have it. 4 road trip horror stories that'll make you think twice before taking that shortcut or stopping at that isolated rest area. These stories were sent to me by real people who experienced things they can't explain, things that changed them. So next time you're out on the road, late at night, and you see something strange, maybe don't stop, maybe don't help, maybe just keep driving, because you never know what's really out there, in the dark, waiting. Thanks for listening. Stay safe out there, and whatever you do, don't take the detour.